Yo, what's going on, guys? We are back. We are back with this incredible guest. His name is Jeff Dulmage. Incredible man. I mean, I've just met him probably about a month ago. I think it's been about a month now at Golden Ticket. And the story that he's been telling me has been absolutely insane, incredible. This man is filled with knowledge. And, he does say he's one of the originals when it comes to creative finance. But we'll go ahead and go straight into it. Jeff, what's going on, brother? How are you doing?
Doing great, doing great. Thank you for having me on. I'm excited to be here today.
Absolutely. It's again an honor to have you on here. It's so incredible hearing the stories of people that have gone before me, right? Again, I've only been in the game for it's gonna be 2 years now. You've been in it for
30
years.
years, yeah,
30
30 years.
years. And so it's great to see someone like you that essentially extends their hands out and says, "Hey, how can I help you?" So Jeff, tell me, brother, where did you come from? Who are you, brother? Tell the guests who you are.
Sure. So I've been an investor for 30 years and I didn't have any money when I started. So everything I did was all creative finance. And I followed like Carlton Sheets and different guys. I would read books that they had, and that was how I started doing all the creative stuff that I did. I then about it's been about 13 years ago now. I bought a brokerage and became an agent. I kind of did that backwards, but anyway, so I owned the brokerage and then became an agent, and then eventually the broker. And so I've been helping clients do the same stuff that I've been building my portfolio with for all these years. So I've literally done hundreds of creative finance deals in my career.
That's incredible. That's incredible. And let me ask you this, because when it comes to the realtor world, it's very shark eat shark. But when it comes to the investor world, it's not, right? We
Right.
talk about ourselves. We talk about how we just met each other about a month ago, and I have a property in Dayton right now that we're looking at that you're gonna help me out with. And it's kind of it just how did you navigate is a big question. How do you navigate and not start becoming or getting into that mindset of like, I gotta be the best. I'm the big dog. I'm the big shark. How did you prevent yourself, or how did that go about where you're like, I'm not gonna do that?
And don't get me wrong, it's difficult being a realtor because it is so dog eat dog. And ultimately you have to check your heart and you have to, ask yourself, why am I doing this? And ultimately, I do have to support my family, but ultimately, I'm doing this to help others. And, I'm a Christian. I want to do the right thing for people. And I love helping people. I have a great story for you. We just closed on a 6 unit yesterday. And I would love to start off telling you about this story because this lady I've known for probably 20 years.
Yeah.
I ran into her about 2 years ago at the bank and we got reconnected, and she started calling me and asking me for help with this 6 unit that she had. Her and her husband redid it 18 years ago, down to the studs, completely renovated this property. And she had all the units furnished, which, good, bad, or ugly, that's what I had to deal with. So anyway, long story short, I'm coaching her for, months and months and months, trying to help her figure out the best way to dispose of this property. She literally had nothing to her name. She owns her home, but she's been through a really bad divorce. And she kind of is a control freak, kind of. And she just couldn't get over putting people in this property. I don't know. It was just, so she never had more than like two or three people in this property, even though there's 6 units. So it wasn't enough income to live on, and it just was a problem for her. So anyway, long story short, I start talking to her about creative finance, and I said, you could get, I can sell this property for 150,000, can get you $50,000 in cash, and then we can find, you can finance, be the bank on the rest.
Yeah. And this is all in what market again?
We're in Lima, Ohio.
Okay.
So it's a fairly small market in Ohio. We're not far from Toledo, Dayton, Columbus. You know, it's a short drive to those places. So anyway, long story short, we closed on this yesterday. She ended up getting her 50 cash. We never did even market this property. I literally had a buyer in my back pocket that took this deal, and he's super stoked because he's got a plan what he's going to do with it.
Yeah.
Coleman Services in our area is going to rent the entire building from him, and so he's going to end up making a fortune off of this thing. He pays her like $890 a month as a part of his mortgage to her. And
Wow.
there's a 3-year balloon. So in 3 years, he's either going to have to pay her the rest of the money that he owes her, or
Hmm.
they'll make some deal to keep going. But she needed the income. That $890 isn't attached to anything now. So she doesn't have to do anything to get that
Yeah.
890. And she
Mailbox
got the
money.
50, she got the, yeah, mailbox money. And she got the 50 that kind of gets her out of all her current scenarios, all her current problems. And so
Wow.
she couldn't have been happier with how it all worked out. And, this is just a normal part of life for me. I sold my company 2 years ago. I built a brokerage and a property management company
Hmm.
called Heartstock Realty, and I sold it 2 years ago, and I sold it on creative finance.
Wow.
And the way it worked was there was two big payments, one up front and one about a year and a half in, and then they're paying me monthly for 5 years. 6 years is what it started off being, but anyway, so there's about 3 years left on that, and it's essentially what my family and I are living on right now with
Wow.
those payments.
That's
And
incredible. So hold on. I'm gonna pause you here. So from the first one we talked about, we did 50K down and $890 a month for 3 years, and the guy just gets to go in there and do what he needs to do with it. And essentially, in those 3 years, a balloon either going to pop or it's going to continue inflating, which means give him more time. That's absolutely incredible. And you were the one that structured it. Did you allow her to understand what creative finance is, or did you say, hey, here it is, this is going to be the best for you, and then just kind of explain, or what was that
yeah,
process like?
it took a little bit of time to get her to wrap her brain around it. I probably had to talk to her about it like probably 4, 5, 6 times,
Wow.
but she finally got it. And I knew it was the solution for her. One of the things I was worried about was one of the things I'm learning about her is that she's not real good with money. So I
Mm,
didn't want her getting all 150,000 of this up front, to be honest. The
yeah.
other thing was there was no insurance on the property. She had no insurance. She couldn't even afford an insurance payment.
Wow.
So I was afraid for her, to get into a situation. We just needed to move this thing.
Hmm.
She needed out from under it. And there was a number of challenges with it. We were able to solve all her problems.
Wow.
The basement was full of stuff, and we had our handy guy go get all the stuff out of the basement for her. And there was a shed that was full that we had to help her get rid of. My partner and I paid for the dumpster to get rid of all the stuff just so that, we could help her out. I mean,
Wow.
I'm in this as a win-win scenario thing. I want to help people. I'm not here just to get wealthy and not bring people along with me. And
Yeah.
she she'll be one of my biggest fans, honestly. And
That's
she
incredible.
already was. I mean, we had a lot of history, but she's going to be one of my biggest fans because I solved all her problems. I listened to her about what was happening with her tenants and, all the things. And I could see that she was too controlling to be a landlord, and she needed to dump this thing and get on down with
Yeah.
life.
Yeah. That's incredible. That's such a great example of why and how creative finance can help. I had a situation one time where I was in another space, a mentorship group, and I was talking about creative finance, and one of the ladies came in. There was some lady. She didn't know too much about creative finance, and man, she almost chewed off my head, telling me like, "Oh, you're just taking advantage of people. You're just doing this and this." I'm like, "What are you talking about? We're here to help out. We're here to get them from point A to the next point that they need to be at." And sometimes the traditional way just doesn't work. We have a property also in Michigan right now that we had to kind of settle and say, hey, I understand this is different. I understand that this doesn't feel like a traditional thing, but we've done this before. We know what we're doing and we're going to take care of your property. So we're working on that end with the realtor and letting them, hey, this is how it's going to go. This is a structure that we're doing, and we're going to take this burden off your hand that you're struggling with, and you're trying to get to Austin from Michigan to Austin, man. We're just trying to get you there. And so it takes time. Like you said, the follow up game is what it's all about, right? It took you 5 to 6. It's going to probably take me about that same amount of time.
Yeah, it especially if they've never heard about it or they've never done anything like that. It does take time, and
Mhm.
I had to show her an amortization chart and I had to break it all down for her. I basically we have a thing called a seller net proceeds as an agent that we'll use with our clients. And
Mhm.
it breaks down like, what all the expenses are going to be in a deal and, how much money they're actually going to get in their pocket as opposed to all their expenses. So we were able to kind of break all that down for her and show her what the end result was going to be, because that's most of the time that's all people really care about is what's going to go in my pocket.
Yeah.
I don't really care about all the rest. It doesn't matter to me. Let's just get this done. And this particular buyer, he's been a client of mine for a long time. He ended up splitting all the attorney costs with her, which was a big help as well,
Mm,
because normally in a deal like this, most of the attorney costs would have been on the seller.
right.
And so he was really gracious in a lot of ways to help, make that happen. And so it's going to be a good deal for everybody. And that's what I'm all about, is trying to find that win-win-win scenario where, I win because, my partner and I, we got a commission. It wasn't
Of
a
course. Yeah.
massive commission, but we got a commission. We have to get paid as well. But it was a win for the buyer. It's a win for my seller. And, she's honestly, it's going to change her life. Honestly,
Yeah.
this is a life-changing deal for her.
Absolutely. That's incredible. That's incredible. Okay, so then let's move on to your next one. You're talking about your brokerage. You had a brokerage. You did a little bit different. You just went straight into brokerage, and then you became a realtor, and then you made this great company, and then you sold it. You sold it. You said seller finance. Was that right?
Yep, yep, yep. I
So
sure did.
what's the details about that?
So it was about $1 million deal. So it was, when I told my wife when we were considering it, we had another company that had approached us about it from Toledo, Ohio, that wanted to buy us out several years ago, and that ended up not working out. But it helped me go through all the steps and to get a better understanding of how I would actually do it if I pulled the trigger. And then I had a local guy approach me about it, and we worked it out. And it was, like I said, it was a large payment, a down payment, a couple 100,000 down, and then like 10 grand a month, something like that. And was initially was going to be over 10 years, but then we readjusted the monthly payment to make it a little bit more, and it
Mm-hmm.
shortened the time frame. And then there was also another $150,000 payment about a year and a half in that that shortened the time frame, which was fine. But yeah, it's been tremendous because it's helped my family and I to move out into the country into a 10-acre property
Very
where
nice.
it's kind of our dream home.
Yeah.
And that really selling the company kind of financed that. And so it's been really tremendous. And the guy that bought the company from me, he was really wanting the property management company, and
Mm,
he's
okay.
done a great job with it. They've taken it to the next level. They've grown the property management to probably 1,000, 1,100 units that they're managing. We were managing
Wow.
about 400 when I sold it.
Mm-hmm.
So he grew that property management company. And what he had a construction company was his main company when he bought me out. So he's better at like the turnovers, and then does rehabs. And he's done like 20 rehabs for me since I sold the company out.
Wow.
And what I love about working with them is, I mean, they're better at those rehabs than I was when I was doing them with my guy.
So you just had a straight connection there. And like, I know you sent me that property a couple days ago, and I was like, man, that's beautiful. And then you told me the purchase price and then the expected ARV, and was that the same team that did the work for that?
No, that was an interesting story. So that's an old neighbor of mine, that his dad had owned that property for like 40 years. and they had to gut it. It was a 8 unit that I was telling you about, and we actually pended that last Friday. It's a buyer from California, believe it or not.
You're gonna
But
get more buyers from California coming in soon, man. There's too good of deals to not go in there. I mean,
we have a
I'm
ton of
one that's
people
going
from
out there too.
there's a ton of people from California coming here to buy. You wouldn't believe it. I mean, I deal with California people all the time, and it's because the purchase prices are lower, the rents are really strong. It just makes sense,
Yeah.
when you can get really great properties for not a lot of money compared to California, then it really starts making sense. But yeah, this neighbor had this 8 unit, and he had it all gutted. He had never done this before, so I connected him with some subcontractors
Hmm.
and coached him through it, and then he's had it for it's probably been done for 2 years now, and then he just listed it with us recently, and we got it pending now. But we listed it for 650 and pended it for a little less than that. But yeah, it's this is a relationship business, and so I'm just trying to do the right thing for people. And I joined Sub 2 with the motivation. Obviously, I would love to do some deals with people,
Yeah.
but I also feel like I could be a real help to a lot of people. So to give you an
Yeah. I mean,
idea, as an agent, I've probably helped somewhere around 50 to 100 people either get started in real estate investing or to scale, or both. And so I have so many clients that will call me and say, "Hey, can you help me? This is my situation, and I
hmm
need to buy this, or I need to sell this, or whatever." I'll tell you another story. So the guy that bought the company from me, he's been a great client of mine for a long time, and he when I met him, he had 11 units. And I think he's over 500 now. So
wow.
he's done really, really well. But
So from 11 to 500, is that right?
yeah.
And you helped them out through the whole process.
Well, I would say at least through the first 350 I did. Yeah. And then,
Wow.
here and there we'll do a deal together. I've heard through the grapevine. Well, I won't even go there, but anyway, he's amazing. He's just done great things. He builds new builds now,
Oh, okay.
and he's built probably 50, 60, 70 new build triplexes and in our area, and then in some areas not too far from here. So he's done really well with this business. But anyway, one of the things was, I'll tell you the story. So I had a 64 unit property for sale with one of my clients, and their goal, they had been doing this for 40 years, and they just wanted to retire. They just wanted to get out of it. And so I helped them sell. I was both sides of the deal. I helped them sell out to the guy that ended up buying Hartsock. And he really wanted them to be the bank for the whole deal.
Mm,
And through some negotiations and so forth, and sitting down with attorneys, we ended up working that out. And what was great about that is they got, a big payday, which was really important to them.
yeah.
But then they got monthly payments. Seems to me it was like 5 grand a month, something like that. And
That's
it
not
was
bad.
enough. It was enough for them to live on
Yeah.
at this stage in their life. And their main goal was to travel. That was what they kept telling me they wanted to do, because one of their daughters works for American Airlines, and they can get free flights.
Yeah.
And so that was one of their huge motivations, was not to be strapped down anymore to have to manage all this stuff, and they wanted to go. What's crazy is this guy calls me today. Like this deal. This deal was like probably 8 years ago. I'm not exaggerating. This
Wow.
is a long time ago,
Yeah.
and 7 maybe. Well, anyway, he thanks me again, says how great it worked out. It was a 5 year balloon. Okay, when we set it up,
Yeah.
and he loved the deal so much he extended it another 5 years. So he loved being the bank, and
Yeah.
what was great for them is they didn't have to pay tax on this $800,000. We were able to structure it so that it pushed the tax out. Or now he's making $60,000 a year off of it. He doesn't have much tax to pay
Yep.
off
Yep.
of that deal. So it's a win-win when you can make these creative finance deals work. And I just love it. And here he is thanking me again, how we solved all these problems. and he has 3 houses left, and he's like, "I want you to help me sell these 3 houses," and what
You
I
got to buy it
explained
right
to
here.
him.
You got to buy it right
Yeah,
here.
yeah, and I said, "Yeah, I'll help you," but I said, I explained to him what I'm doing now with the passive stuff, which is, syndications that I help people go from active owners where they're having to manage the stuff over to a passive investor. They get all the
Mm,
benefits of real estate, but they're a passive investor and they just get mailbox money. Now
yeah.
they don't have to worry about managing anything or working hard. And so he's very interested in that. So what I could see him doing is taking some of the proceeds from these last 3 houses when I sell
Mm-hmm.
them and convert them into a passive investment, which
Mm,
will pay him no matter where he's at and
yeah.
no matter what they're doing. And that's really one of my heart desires now, is to help people to go from active to passive, especially when they're later on in life. We helped somebody recently sell. They had, as a young couple, like in their like late 20s,
Yeah.
early 30s, that had accumulated like I think it was around 20 units,
Okay.
and they decided they wanted to get out. And we split the properties up into 2 different packages and then sold them, and they both went for over asking price. And
Wow.
this couple ended up being able to buy a $400,000 house free and clear, paid cash for it after the sale of all their real estate. And so even as this young couple was able to get set up in life, and it was better because they have a home business that they do like events and tents. They rent tents out and stuff, and they
Yeah.
needed a outbuilding to store all the tents. Well, this property had the outbuilding that they needed. And so it was so cool to be able to help them, sell out their real estate and then pay cash for their home and then be able to run their event business
Yeah.
out of it. So
That
yeah.
is incredible. So, Jeff, I'm going to ask you a couple questions because there's people on here that are realtors and investors. As a realtor, I'm going to go into this realm. What is one thing that you would tell either a new realtor that's just coming into the game or even an old vet? If you had just one good advice, what would you say to them?
So I think what makes me the most effective is the fact that I'm an investor and a realtor. So if people want to be the best realtor, I feel like the best realtors are the ones that get their hands dirty and do the work and get into the business. If you're just a realtor and you're not willing to actually invest in real estate, it's like you don't really believe in your craft almost.
Wow.
And I feel like there's so much more I've learned. I mean, I've done literally thousands of deals now. I've probably done over 3,000 deals as an agent, and I've probably done, I don't know, probably in the neighborhood of 3 to 400 deals as an investor. And so all of those deals, with each one of them, it gives you experience that then you can pass on to your next clients. And I mean, I've seen some of the wildest things that you can imagine. And
Yeah.
because I was an REO agent, I was a bank foreclosure agent for years, selling
Wow.
bank foreclosures, and saw some wacky stuff in those days. And I mean, I've just seen so much. And but through all that, I've made contacts with, I've got great contractors. I have the title companies that work for me, the banks that
Mm-hmm.
I've been able to partner with that really appreciate me and trust me. And so what I'm able to do is, anybody that comes and works with me, I'm able to pass on all those contacts to them,
Yeah.
and make all this stuff work. And it's makes it all win-win. And
Yeah.
our market is interesting in the fact that prices are still relatively low, but rents are really strong. And so when we run the numbers, I would say on a typical single family house, if you're getting a decent deal on it, you can make, five, we'll say like 350 to 700 a month
That's
after
pretty good.
expenses. And that's hard to find in the country right now.
Yeah. I would say that's usually that's about average, I would say, depending on the market, right? But if you're looking as a whole, it's around about 350 to 500 is what I'm seeing. So you're telling me, and again, for the people that are listening that are realtors and brand new to this, that you would recommend that they invest themselves. And so my question is, as an investor myself, how would I then go to them and say, hey, I want to work with you. I want to essentially, I want to teach you what I know, so then we can both gain and win in both realms, right? You give me the leads, I'll help you. We help close this or whatever it is that we can do. But let me ask you, as and then now put on your investor hat, as an investor hat, how would you go about having that conversation with the realtor? Because unfortunately, a lot of the times I deal with this where they're so protective and so aggressive towards investors.
Yeah, you gotta have the right mentality, I think, to work with investors. And I feel like what taught me that was the REO business, kind of. It got me started seeing like investors as a clientele. And I feel like the real estate business is kind of difficult, for realtors, because we get to deal with people for like, 30, 60, 90 days, and then that's it. And
Yeah.
you might not work with them again for 10 years or something. Well, what I love about working with investors is that they're always buying or they're always selling.
Mm-hmm.
So they're really the perfect clientele to get yourself set up working with, because, if it's a deal, I've had closings on, the day before Christmas, and it's because, or the day before Thanksgiving or the day after, because it's a deal. And they'll, if we can get people to show up and do a closing, they'll do it because it's a great deal.
Right.
And they're always buying, it seems like,
Yeah.
or they're always selling. And so it's like, those investors are the perfect clientele to build a long-term business out of. And the other thing that I want to make sure I clarify for you is that one of the things that you have to establish as a realtor is the trust factor with your investors. If I have a deal that I've ran by my investors, I'm not going to buy it
Uh,
unless they turn it down and they say no, they have it under contract, and then they let it go or something. I'm not going to get in the way of that ever. Like, if you want to ruin your business with investors, go buy something that you should have told, your investor about, or you did tell your investor about, but then you bought it.
yeah.
You're gonna ruin that relationship, like
Real quick.
right now, because they they want you to be real. They want you to be honest, and they want to be able to trust what you're saying. So I always opt for my clientele first on any deal that I'm listing and selling. I've only bought a few deals myself that were things I had listed. One was a 5-house package that fell out 3 times, and my client seller client said, "Will you just buy this thing already?" And another one was a 29 unit property that fell out like 4 or 5 times, and same thing happened. My seller client said, "Will you just buy this already?" And so we put together a group and bought it. But anyway, yeah, so I didn't really talk about that in the beginning. I do have a pretty large portfolio now. I have about 150 units that are closely held in Lima, that are mostly single family,
Mm-hmm.
small multis or mid-size multis. And then I've uh, I've done probably like 10 syndications or joint ventures. And so on the syndication side, we've got another 500-600 units that we've helped syndicate.
That's
So
incredible.
so yeah, I've got a pretty large portfolio, but that's, again, it's never been my main thing. My main thing has been helping people build their portfolios. And so, I've got dozens and dozens of those people out there, somewhere probably between 50 and 100. When I sold the company, we were managing for like between 45 and 50 clients, and those were
Wow.
all clients that I had helped with purchases and so forth. So
That's incredible. That's incredible. Okay. Last question. So you're in Ohio, Lima market. Somebody
live,
wants to work with you.
yeah.
How can they get in contact with you? Because we're going to have people that see this and they're like, man, I definitely want to work with Jeff because he's a freaking rock star. So how do I get a hold of you? What is it that I have to do? Is there a, a paid filter? Do I have to do what do I have to do to get in business with you, Jeff?
Yeah. So actually, two of my clients are LA cops. I forgot to tell you that the other day, but the one's got like 30 some units in Lima, and the other one's got like probably 10 or 12. But those guys have done really well in Lima. But yeah, they just called me. You can email me, you can text me, any of the above.
I'll
So,
have the email down in the YouTube commentary. You'll see his email. You can reach out to Jeff and essentially get that great help that he is.
is there time for me to tell that one story that I was telling you about the
Yeah, send it.
9 unit deal that fell apart?
Tell us that last story.
Okay, all right. So this one is one I hope wins the most creative when Pace is going around doing his thing, But anyway, so I had this couple that approached me. They had heard that I was a really good agent and they wanted to work with me. And they had gotten a divorce about 7 years prior. They had a huge portfolio. They had hundreds and hundreds of units, but they needed to sell 67 houses and two multifamily properties. The
Wow.
multifamilies were, one was a 20 unit and the other was a 19 unit. And they're not far apart on the east side of Lima, maybe a quarter of a mile or so. And so I listed those two properties. I think we listed them around 950 a piece, and they went under contract together with one buyer. It all went under contract for 1.6 million.
Mm-hmm.
So my commission on this thing was going to be 80 grand.
Wow.
And at the time, that would have been my biggest commission. I've had bigger commissions since, but at the time, that was going to be my biggest commission. So I was pretty excited. So 4 months goes by. We get through inspection, we get through appraisal, we get through title, everything. The bank's ready to close. The guy used my bank. He was going to use my company to manage these units for him. And we show up to closing. He signed all the paperwork, had his checks, and had everything ready. And anyway, long story short, he gets to the assignment of rents
Mm-hmm.
contract that everybody has to sign when you buy anything with 2 units or more. Every bank
Yeah.
has it. Basically, it says if you stop paying us, we have the right to come collect your rents. So don't ever not pay your mortgage. That's how you solve that problem, right? So I've never missed a mortgage payment. So I just believe in paying your mortgages. But anyway, he would not sign that, and he got so upset, and he went like stomping out of the closing and was furious about this and drove back to Columbus. He was from Columbus, Ohio, and he drove back to Columbus and quit on the deal. I watched $80,000 walk out the door, just gone to. So yeah, I was devastated, and I locked myself in my basement for a couple of days, just trying to figure out, Lord, what happened? What is going on here? And
Yeah.
so I heard him say to me at one point, put those two spreadsheets together and look at this deal together. And that was all he had to say. I put them together. It was a 14 cap at these rents were super low, and it was a 14 cap at 1.6 million. So I go to my favorite loan officer who had handled this deal. I call him the GOAT because he's the greatest of all time in our area. So I go to him and I'm like, "Hey, Rick, do you think you would be able to help me out with this? I'd really like to buy this." And he goes, I said, "We could plug and play on this. We've got the title work's done, the appraisal's done, we've been through inspection, everything is good to go. You just gotta underwrite us." And he said, "Yeah, find a partner." And so it was the guy that ended up buying Heartsock. I partnered with him on this deal. And so I brought him in. We analyzed it. We closed 3 weeks to the day after I
Wow.
brought him in, and we figured out that we wanted to buy it. It took us 3 weeks to close on that. And he's had it ever since. I got bought out of it last year, but I made probably real close to a $500,000. And what I put down, I put the $80,000 out. There was a commission that I wouldn't have gotten had this
Yeah.
deal not happened, right? So I got creative and figured out how to make it happen. And then I took $35,000 off of a line of credit that I had, And
Mhm.
so no cash out of pocket, but that was enough for me to get 25% of the deal. And we got monthly cash flow. There was a couple of big payouts. There was, because I think we did a refinance at one point. I think I got like 50,000 at one point. And, we're going to do a case study on this.
That's
I
incredible.
I talked to my partner in this. He's
Yeah.
still running it. The rents are more than twice what they were 8 years ago. They've more than doubled in eight
Wow.
years. And to give him credit, he has done a tremendous job managing them
Mhm.
and fixing them up. So we put all new parking lots in. We put all new landscaping. They put new roofs on them. All the units got redone on the inside. So he's put a tremendous amount of money into these properties, and he's done a great job managing them. And so, kudos to him. But me getting to be his partner for 8 years really benefited greatly from the scenario, and to take zero money out of my pocket, create almost a half a million in 8 years is amazing. And that's really the power of real estate. And it's also the power of the network that you have,
Mhm.
because, my whole career I've always been a capital raiser, and I could tell you a million stories about this, but I used to, my place where I used to go to church, I had two old ladies that invested in me. One of them invested 30,000 with me and I
Yeah.
paid her monthly, and the
Wow.
other one invested 50,000 with me and I paid her monthly. And they didn't want into real estate. They needed monthly income was what they needed. So I gave them their monthly income, and then I would take their money and I would invest it in real estate, and
We're gonna have to bring you back, brother. We're gonna have to hear more stories. I'm gonna have to bring you back, brother. It was so good having you. I'm telling you, I'm bringing you back. Give me a couple weeks. We'll run it back
okay.
and make sure you have all those stories lined up for me because we got more questions. And next time, you know what I think we should do? Next time, let's go live. We'll go live on YouTube. Make sure that
Okay.
everyone we have our comments and then questions,
Yeah.
and then we'll go from there.
Yeah, that'd be fun. That'd be great. And like I said, my heart is to just help people. I'm not here trying to be some big something that I'm not. I'm just a regular guy that loves real estate. I'm passionate about it, and I just love helping people, and I feel like real estate is the single best opportunity for the average person to get ahead of this country today.
Absolutely.
That is my belief, and it's been great for my family, and I'm hoping to pass it on to my kids. And but yeah, what Pace is doing is amazing, and so yeah.
Well, Jeff, again, thank you. Guys, thank you so much. Like this video, subscribe. I appreciate you guys so much. I'll see you in the next one.